was a delegate at the National Convention.
The only fair election we had was for our delegate!
Thank you, Aaron. And I actually want to say thank you to, first of all, for the opportunity to speak here. I do really and truly appreciate to be able to have an alternate view presented for the Democratic Party. That's really a huge factor, and I think that was one of the biggest factors of being at the convention, was to be able to hear from other people and their comments. So I've got something a little written because I'm not a public speaker at all. So I'm going to read from a statement. It's okay. I feel essentially speaks for the people that I was elected to represent at the National Convention. So first, again, I do want to thank all the Bernie supporters, and thank you to everyone who funded the delegates to get there. That was a factor for me to see of how many people wanted to get there.
For a guy who's nervous about public speaking. All right, go for it.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah. I feel like I'm really at a rally. Okay. That's very funny. Okay, I also want to say thank you, particularly to George Brown, who I think he's busy doing something else, because George did come to our Bernie meetings, at least one of them, and then I asked him to come on to the next one, and he said, "Are you sure you want me to go there?" To which I said, "Yes, I do. We want you there." And then he asked me to come to speak to this, and I turned around and said, "Are you sure you want me to speak to this?" And his answer actually was, "Absolutely." So that was actually a very, very, very cool. So here we go. Every so often, it's a good idea for any one of us to do some self-reflection, to see how closely our actions are in alignment with our principles. We might do a little investigation of our own, or we might invite a few close friends to offer their views of our actions. It's helpful to do this if we are serious about staying true to our principles and want to stay in touch with that still small voice of conscience. Occasional self-reflection is valuable for organizations too, by taking the time to be sure that the mission and goals of the organization are truly being met by its actions. At this moment in time, when a call is being made for unity, it certainly seems appropriate for the Democratic Party to do some self-reflection. What exactly is it that the party wants to be unified about? What is the conscience of the party saying? Who can an organization turn to for such an assessment of actions aligning with principles? Certainly, one group are the people within the party itself. And where do we find them? That's really easy. There are signs everywhere right here in front of us, and the people holding those signs with whom I am in alignment and who elected me to represent their voices as a delegate for Bernie Sanders have been speaking for the conscience of the party. Now the question is the party listening to their voices of conscience? Let's summarize some of the concerns and questions of these voices. Why did we foist a candidate upon us that has an extremely high unfavorability rating?
Yeah.
Bring it up to your mouth. Why did we as a party tip the scales in favor of that candidate when we had an alternate with an extremely high favorability rating? Why did the party's superdelegates decide who they would vote for even before the campaigning began?
Why
does the party choose candidates?
let him finish.
Happily.
Go ahead, Seaman. Let me have that microphone back.
That's not working. It's like they did at the convention. That is, it's just like they did at the convention. Point, Tracy.
Straight into it that way.
Okay, there you go. Thanks for the mic. Why does the party's chosen candidate give speeches to corporations and hide those speeches from the people she is supposed to represent? Why would the party back anyone who hides the transcripts of those corporate speeches? We can conclude from these actions that the party's nominee prefers to defend her allegiance with corporations over the allegiance with the people. We might also conclude that the party that foisted this candidate upon the people are in agreement with that allegiance, favoring corporate interests.
Get that bullhorn again. Get the bullhorn. It's not working. Get the bullhorn back.
Yes, give him the bullhorn.
Favoring corporate interests over concern for people. And now that party is asking the people to fall in line to unity. In unity with what?
Yeah, what?
A party that favors corporate and moneyed interests over the people?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Obviously, and what the conscience of the Democratic Party is saying is that this does not make sense. We expect that the leaders we elect represent the voters, not the corporations. And we need to ask if the party is acting on behalf of corporations over people, is this out of line with the party's principles? Or are the party's principles putting concern for corporations ahead of concern for people?
Yes, they are.
As it appears the latter is true, we, your conscience, would like to suggest a reason. It is summarized in an old phrase, often misquoted, that really applies here.
Bernie's part of the party.
The love of money is the root of all evil.
Get your money.
Because isn't this really what has happened in our government? The desire for money and power and fame have taken hold. And since no one can serve two masters, we are now in the situation where the party is serving money rather than people. And yet the party is asking us to fall in line. And we, the voice of your conscience, want to ask you even more questions about your actions and principles. How could the party ignore the voices of the vast majority of people under 45 who voted for Bernie Sanders? This is the future of the party, after all. Is the party that ignoring these younger voters will lead to exodus from the party? It is already happening. Why would the party be happy about the selection of a vice president who is more Republican than Democrat? Lastly, can the party fall in line with the notion of compassion? It is this last question that is perhaps the most important of all, because putting compassion first means taking into consideration the lives of others, the 99%, the people who have been left behind in the mad dash money grab the party has embraced so completely.
Right on. Right on.
Perhaps it's time for the party to take a look and really get clear on their principles and actions and who they align themselves with before asking the people to align with the party.
Thank you. Thank you, Seamus.